I want to play for you an absolutely brutal, but just spot on, just quoting Trump. But I think you can accurately describe this ad I'm about to play for you, that, and actually Mike Singleton described as catastrophic for Donald Trump. And since I referenced him, I'll read this caption. While President Biden is in Normandy honoring fallen soldiers or troops, the Biden campaign drops catastrophic ad on Donald Trump. And for our podcast listeners, I'll go back and read some of the quotes that are on screen that you're not hearing. But first, here it is.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured.
He handed me his Purple Heart.
I always wanted to get the Purple Heart. This was much easier.
Unbelievable. Again, brutal, heart-wrenching. And to read some of the quotes. Why should I go to the cemetery? It's filled with losers, Trump said. This is all things he either on camera, on audio tape, as you heard with the John McCain quote, or reportedly said, according to General John Kelly being some of these quotes. He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people weren't captured. Obviously, that one's on video. I don't get it. What was in it for them? Trump said to the father of a fallen soldier. Suckers, Trump said of fallen Marines. He knew what he signed up for, Trump said to the widow of a fallen soldier. We're not going to support that loser's funeral, talking about John McCain. That guy's smart. Why did he join the military? Trump said. It doesn't look good for me, talking about standing near wounded soldiers. He handed me his Purple Heart, and then you heard that on tape. So these have been corroborated. We've now had so many different people talk about their experience hearing Trump say stuff to this effect. And again, the suckers and losers comment and the different things about fallen soldiers, being around wounded soldiers. That's something that John Kelly, who is his chief of staff and is a general, former general, he testified to publicly. And so that's something we've talked about before, the horrific things Trump has said, and the fact that the quote-unquote pro-military party could be nominating this guy is unfathomable. But I do want to transition to something else that I want to talk about. And here, brought up Normandy and the honoring of fallen troops at D-Day. And Biden right now is in France doing just that. And one of the really disturbing things we've seen is MAGA use so much energy during this trip. Instead of just setting aside politics and saying, yeah, good speech from Biden, honoring the absolute ultimate sacrifice from these individuals and honoring the survivors, the fight against fascism, the victory against fascism, and the sacrifices that were made in service of that goal. Instead, it has to be, let's figure out how we can attack Biden over how he was about to sit down and this, that, and the other thing. Jeanine Pirro wrote and then deleted because of the lie that this was. She's a Fox News host. She said, "This is the man representing us. This is how we're being perceived as a nation. Our commander-in-chief trying to sit in an imaginary chair on stage in front of the entire world. Lights on, but Biden's not home. Embarrassing is an understatement. There's no chair." So she's so confident that at some point he was trying to sit down in an invisible chair. And that comes from this clip.
Distinguished guests, please welcome the Honorable Lloyd J. Austin.
So, according to a bunch of the people you'll see in the comments, and according to Jeanine Pirro, There was no chair there. And Biden was just inexplicably going just to sort of get a leg workout or something. That's the argument. Well, of course, that argument was based on a very dishonest cut in that clip and apparently vision not being activated in the observation of this. I've been expecting you. Yesterday, I asked you all to subscribe, and I just want to thank you. 10,000 people in one day, in 24 hours, subscribe to the channel. I worked for months back when I started the channel to get to 10,000 subscribers. One day. You are amazing. If you haven't yet, please click that subscribe button.
Distinguished guests, please welcome the Honorable Lloyd J. Austin III, Secretary of Defense of the United States of America.
And then everyone was sitting down. He was correct. He was a few seconds early, as we've all done. I said on the bonus show when we originally covered this, you can access the bonus show by clicking the join button below, that have none of y'all ever been at church and gone, are we, okay, we're going down. That's exactly what he did. Or in any other setting, if you've never been to church. So, it's so dishonest. Ben Meiselas said the media promotes deceptively edited clips of Biden to fabricate a gotcha moment using a millisecond of a powerful speech / day, and then deceptively edits out 99% of what Trump actually says and does to promote a false narrative of strength. Americans are being played. And I do think so many of these moments are very dishonestly presented. And it's especially dishonest when I always tell you that a lot of the agenda of these accounts of many politicians and media figures is to distract from other things. If we just had a discussion of the policy records of Biden versus Trump, Biden would demolish him in the election. So instead, we have to distract with these culture war things and distract with conspiracy theories and distract with all this stuff. And it's a similar thing here. Biden delivered an excellent speech, fantastic speech, setting aside your political views about him. And that's what they wanted to distract from with silly, goofy clips. And do you know what people see? They see the dumb, deceptively edited clips. They don't see this.
Theirs has always been the story of America. Just walk the rows of this cemetery as I have. Nearly 10,000 heroes buried side by side. Officers and enlisted. Immigrants and native-born. Different races. Different faiths. But all Americans, all served with honor when America and the world needed them most. Millions back home did their part as well. From coast to coast, Americans found countless ways to pitch in. They understood our democracy is only as strong as all of us make it together. The men who fought here became heroes, not because they were the strongest or toughest or were fiercest, although they were, but because they were given an audacious mission, knowing, every one of them knew, the probability of dying was real. But they did it anyway.
Yeah. And by the way, do you know what some people's takeaway was? Who did see that? Well, Eric Erickson, nice name, says, I don't think it was appropriate for Biden to turn the remembrance of D-Day into a political attack on his opponent, referring to, as Midas Touch points out, we can only assume him talking about the importance of democracy. President Biden did not mention Trump once, Midas Touch writes. He did, however, speak about the dangers of fascism and the importance of protecting democracy. Trumpers are telling on themselves. If you find it to be inappropriately getting political to say that we must continue to understand the importance of the values that people sacrifice their lives for, such as our democratic values, our opposition to fascism. That's a you problem if you see that as inappropriate. And, you know, as I was saying earlier, they're distracting from this clip. People are going to see the moments. I've talked about this a lot. I've ranted especially heavily about it on the bonus show, where we just get a little unleashed. And it really does bring a lot of rage into my heart, because I know it's something I can't really control, and we have to deal with the conditions of our media landscape. Talking to so many people my age, people different age, whatever, who tell me their political views. And they often will even admit that those political views are shaped so significantly by a tiny percentage of very, very clipped moments of politics. So Biden, for example, you have these policies and governance pulling us out of this unprecedented crisis, or overseeing, if you don't want to give him credit, overseeing a recovery out of this huge crisis. Something we could have united around, been patriotic about how the United States of America came out of that crisis more effectively than any other country on the face of the planet. We could have been proud to be Americans as we work to make people's lives better in our country after the disaster that was left by Biden's predecessor. And instead, division, division, division. That's all it was for much of MAGA media. And the way they were able to do it, the way they were able to distract people from talking about, hey, the policies that impacted millions of people's lives, a matter of food being on the table for people, a matter of basic well-being. That's what these policies relate to. But instead, what do I hear when I ask someone what the perception of Biden is? Oh, I saw a clip of him shaking a hand that wasn't there. Now, that clip was also deceptively edited. He was waving at somebody and they cut out the people. But it's such a tiny percentage of what is going on out there is shaping a massive percentage of people's perception of politics. And so I beg people, and if you're watching the show, you probably do pay attention way more than most people, but if you can reach someone else to convince them, it matters so much. And right now we are in another moment where we face a potential crisis for our democracy. And if at any point in time in your lifetime you're going to engage and pay attention, it's now. And we can unite this country around some basic fundamental principles that right now, at least the hardcore MAGA people, they don't stand for. Maybe because of being misinformed, maybe because of misperception, whatever, and maybe we can pull some of those over. But the way forward is prevailing politically by winning in November. And the fact that that could not happen because of really deceptive nonsense, I'll say, like what we just watched, is unfortunate, because it'll blow your mind. I'm sure you know this, but how much those little moments compel people into thinking, oh, Biden doesn't know where he is. Okay, let's just completely throw in the trash then everything that matters about his record and only talk about one little sliver of what matters, which is aesthetic stuff. I have more for you, but that went too long. I was going to talk about the good jobs numbers, see economic stuff that matters, but I'll probably do that on the bonus show. I mentioned it so many times. Click the join button if you want to support the work that we're doing here. And goodness gracious, let me know what you thought of all that in the comments.